Alrighty, so hello and welcome back to another video. So before I start, to help with the game, I have made a new layer. Now it is not finished yet, but it is going to be provinces to help us figure everything out. Yes, some areas are not filled in, but that's because they are so sparsely populated or like recently acquired, like without a city. Most provinces either need to have a city or be within territories with cities like Macedonia. Well, anyway, let's jump right into it. We first come down here to Romania, where we see a group of their people go up and cross the mountains. Now, Romanians would have been fine with the Carpathian Mountain. Oh my lord, why won't it stay on the fog layer? What? And I would have been fine if they hadn't decided they aren't returning. And so, back here behind the mountains, we see a new nation forming. Quickly, both sides would race to find the rest of the Carpathian Mountains, and we would see them both end up essentially making the border along the mountain. And it looks something like this. We also now need to come over here into the Central Balkans, where we see another group of Romanians from this city, and meet up with Samnite people around like northern Serbia, and form another nation right here. And this new nation would very quickly be on the path to expanding because they know that if they don't expand, other people will expand instead of them. And so they quickly move south. The Samnites, noticing this big issue, would begin to quickly move in onto the area and secure essentially Bosnia and Croatia. And in pretty big, however, this is sparsely populated. We would also see the Thracians, I'm gonna call them, gain the northern Macedonia, southern Serbian region. We will see Romania gain some border territories with the Sorbians. Why do he call them Sorbians? The Serbians gaining this territory with another Bosnian nation being formed right here. I think that's Bosnia, like southern. I don't even know. Montenegro, Kosovo. I don't know. Next up, we come up here to Germany, where we see the big brown nation find southern Sweden. And yes, if anybody wants to ask, I do have this basing off of Addis Pro's brown nation centered around the Netherlands, but this one's more Dutch. I mean, not Dutch, but Hamburgian German. And find this Dutch island. And so they began to conquer it, along with expanding across the Oder River, securing an even stronger empire. We also see down here this nation really jump onto expansion, seizing all this territory. Yeah. And we have the Central German nation also expanding this way. With, don't even need to say why, multiple more cities forming across the plains. And we have some cities up here. We also come over here to the Latvia nation. They're able to explore the entire sea of Latvia along with part of the southern and then eventually northern Estonian coast, along with exploring more into the Latvia and Lithuania, like this, as they move out and conquer this land. However, would have an issue as we would also see another nation form up here. The West Finnish nation. And although mad about this new nation, they don't feel like fighting right now, as a fight with all the cold would be a very annoying war. We also down here in Königsberg / Kaliningrad, depending on where you come from, we would see also an East Prussian nation, with surprisingly making 2 cities already. Now we come over here to England. We see the other. Are these 2 allied? They might be allied. No, they're not. But these nations, being pretty friendly, continue exploring up here, and also with some Brittany help, find the entire southern coast of England. So they don't stop there, also going north as they cross the Thames River and find Northumbria and the south coast of Wales. We would see the Normandy nation and continue expanding and conquer this territory, and the Brittany nation come up and conquer this territory, along with a small port thing at Cardiff. And in terms of cities, many people begin to go there, as it seems like a great opportunity of potentially a whole new continent if there's one up there. Over down here, Iberia is starting to calm down. However, the tension with these two against the Orange team is only continuing to grow. As we follow the Orange Nation, we see them not honestly do very much, as they mainly can just continue down this coast and meet up with the Pink Nation. And this Pink Nation, considering that you can't really go inland down here, begins to explore mainly just along the coast, forming very much a coastal nation, like this. And in terms of cities, we don't see very many forming, since it's not a great place to live. However, we do still see our fair share, with most of these cities being on the islands close to the capital. What we do see the Orange team, however, have a large population increase across their lands, especially in the homeland, but also in Italy. Now we can come over here to the Red team, who decides that for more land they're going to expand into this area, which they definitely do as they seize this territory. These 3 nations would eventually come together and divide up the rest of this territory right here and into something like this. As we continue on here, we see essentially all 5 of these nations slowly, although not in the right too much, it's getting pretty far from what they can really control. We see them begin to explore into the Arabian deserts. Mainly because of tales that there's better lands in the interior of it. Now, we need to come to the blue team. Now, the blue team, it has decent size. However, they also have quite a few enemies. Being one. If we look at the alliances, these two are allied. However, there is this entire block here. Eventually, the diamond block, well, blue team, decides they're going to test this alliance's integrity, and they launch a small invasion of what we know as like the Syrian nation to just see will their alliance actually come to help them as they invade this province and into this province. And they definitely come to help them. As we see this nation flood over the border here, and this nation cross the border into this city, taking territories from actually 3 provinces. And when the blue team calls for these people help, they say no and dissolve the alliance because in their head, the blue team was the aggressor here. And the blue team is going to be alone in this fight. But, I mean, it won't be an easy fight to destroy the blue team. The blue team is pretty strong. However, we do still see the enemies making advances. We see the South Anatolians end up getting stopped in this province. And we see this nation continue to have some issues, especially over here. However, with Cyprus' help, they are able to actually gain territories from the blue team over here. And however, the blue team has a very big issue now. As over here, we see them face a revolution. And, as you'll see, as we see all 3 of these provinces and this territory leave the blue team. And now the blue team, though, isn't just going to plan to try and let them go. And so they, of course, send a force. Whom definitely does not win. As the forces come over here and capture this city, and march south and capture this city. And the blue team begins to realize they are not going to win this. Especially as even this small nation in the north joins in against them. The blue team is really just getting ganged up on by everyone. And as they start to lose ground on some fronts, the blue team decides that it would be best for them to surrender. And let's see what that peace treaty is like. And in the ensuing peace treaty, we see them get completely carved up. And now the blue team is decently mad and feeling as this king screwed him over, they replace this king for another one, changing up the blue team. However, they still can't do anything yet, so now they lay in rest for opportunity. As we move north to the, we go over to the, oh yes. Oh, I forgot about the air trains. Down here are exploring down into here, along with finding the rest of this sea. Still haven't found those islands though. and we see them conquer all this territory. However, they have it loosely under their control. It's the same as up here. Coming over to the Iranians, we see them find this territory here and conquer much of it. However, again, loosely populated. And over here to India, we see these two nations, when they race against each other, explore up essentially the rest of the peninsula. And as they fight up the whole peninsula. Sorry, I don't know if I kept it pausing a lot, but we also see the green team find Sri Lanka, and these do something like this, trying to keep out circling the other. We also see something else interesting happening, as people from this nation, mad with how it's getting ran, carefully go along this border, not wanting to get caught, and begin to go farther and farther. They trudge through the Bangladeshi swamplands and down the Burmese coast into Burma. And continue. They really have to stay along the coast because of how densely jungle it is, but eventually find an isthmus and a bay right here. However, some settle down in different places, as many places along the way, being here, 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 and here, and here, all of them look pretty nice, and some even keep going and find South Vietnam. So do you want to know what happens? Well, we see a multitude of civilizations just forming. Because it's such diverse and they're so secluded from each other, they're able to form their own kingdoms. But yeah, and now this part of Asia is now a lot more populated. Where we also need to go, however, is over to the Italian peninsula, where the orange team already dominates most of the sea. However, they look here and say, what if we could meet all of these locations? Now, this one would be too hard because they'll always have fighting from the north. This one will be too hard, and they could get help from here. This one will be too hard because both of them will attack here, and they have more population on there. But if we look at the Samnites, they're just kind of alone. And so, they think that will be the best route of action. And the capital is pretty close. So how bad can it be? What we see them march across the border here, seizing this town, and forcing them into a siege on the end of the peninsula, getting dangerously close to the capital there, marching down through these two cities, and along the Po River, almost nearing like the Venetian area, even launching a landing just south of the city. However, as the Italians bring troops from over here, it would start to turn as the landing is forced back. These guys are forced back here. And the attack over there gets completely encircled. They would desperately try to hold off against the Samnites, however, too many would just come after them, and after the siege is broken, the city would fall. And now the Carthaginians are on the retreat. They launch fierce battles at each major city, but the Samnites continue walking through. They are eventually stopped at that province's border, but from there, they turn north to the other occupation, where they, and after liberating their own country, keep going against Genoa, sweeping through Sardinia and Piedmont, Piedmont and Genoa, eventually even reaching the French border before sweeping up and eventually getting all this. The Orange team, not wanting to risk landings anywhere else, are forced to make peace with the Samnites, giving them all of this territory, which is quite shocking. By the way, I will do something, so silo. And that's gonna be the end of this video. So good. See you next one. Goodbye.